Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started with a board workshop. Dr. Sorola, that you said there was no one on public comment, correct?
That is correct.
Then we're going to go ahead and get started with a Don ISD Learning Loss Plan. Dr. Sorola?
Yes, a good, I guess it's good afternoon, members of the board, Dr. Valdez, and the school community. Thank you very much for this opportunity to conduct this workshop. This will be a very concise workshop, but we think it's very important that we share the district's learning loss plan, and we want to obtain your feedback on this plan. All of this information is going to dovetail. It aligns with our ESSER 3 application, which will be submitted here very soon, and obviously it's very, very relevant to our response to the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on student learning. So once again, we're going to be covering just the high points of our learning loss plan in response to the pandemic. And present for today's presentation and conversation, we have Mr. Rana, who will be facilitating a good part of this presentation, but I've also asked that Ms. Castañeda with elementary education and Dr. Aceves with secondary, that they also be present in case there are any questions that come up that are relevant to their area of expertise. And so we're going to go ahead and begin. Mr. Rana, if you want to go ahead and begin the presentation by covering the key points.
Mrs. Gonzalez, if you can give me the access to share my presentation. Ms. Gonzalez?
I think they're working on that, Mr. Rana. Hold on.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Salah, do you see my presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Dr. Valdez, board of the member. It's my honor, my privilege. Good afternoon. Just like Dr. Sola said, that this will be a very concise presentation, but we just wanted to share with you how we came up with this learning loss plan. The learning loss plan, the first couple of slides, I'm going to share why there is a need of learning loss plan. Then how did we get the stakeholder input? And then we use the Texas Education Agency provider template to prioritize our need, the need we have. And then from there, once we met with the committee, and then we elementary campus committee different and secondary. Then we looked at all the priority, and then we put the initiative that will be used to assist us to catch up or fill the gap we are going to experience because of the summer slide and because of the pandemic. At the end of my presentation, there is a tally sheet that will more or less gives the idea how much we are spending through this learning loss plan, which will be the part of the ESSER 3 grant money. So the first is, so the background, as I was saying, we know that every time the student, they go on summer vacation, there is always a learning loss. And then when they come back, we always provide them the accelerated instruction so they can catch up. But this slide, which is a COVID slide, we are talking a bigger slide. And I was counting the days. We almost lost 240 days of in-person instruction. Instruction went on, but it was a remotely virtual. We almost 240 days face-to-face instruction we lost because of we terminated our instruction on March 13th until this month, last month, June. So there are 240 days instruction, in-person instruction was lost. So there is a dire need of of the drastic plan that can really assist teachers, students, all educators to when the students come back, how can we catch up? The chart you see, it's done nationally. It's a NWEA research. They have done the research. I'm going to just very quickly describe, because if I want to explain this, the chart, it will take some minutes, but I don't want to spend much time. But I want to just show you how this chart will work. Like in the beginning of the year, this is a mathematics forecast. So beginning of the year, the students are 188. That's the starting point in third grade. In the school closure, which was a March 13th, their point was 196 normally, and then they go up to 201. That's a normal curve you see. So, but as you see, when pandemic hit March 13th, that's where instruction went on. But you see this line, we have the hold or the halt on our learning. Because of the pandemic slide, we are lost almost 1 year of instruction in the area of math. So the area of math hit the most in the COVID slide than the reading. The reading score is also affected, but was more in the area of math because the nature of the subject, that's a hands-on and then face-to-face and more abstract. So that's the reason the student, they lost the most. This is a third grade, the same story, but it's, you see the less gap. In the previous, you see a bigger gap from here to here, a bigger gap. But in reading, there is a gap, but less gap. And there is another study done by state, and they are saying like normal time. This is not related to anything with the pandemic. Normal year, normal time. In 2017, third grade students reading do not meet at grade level, right? So there are almost 90,000 students. So those students, when they were in third grade 2017, we provided them, the state provided them the accelerated instruction. In 2018, look, about like a 24,000 of students, they gain from third grade to fourth grade at approaches to approaches level. But the same cohort student, they looked at the 2019 fifth grade reading accelerated. Look, only maybe about 5 or 2,000 or 3,000 students, they were at meets level. It was before the pandemic. And because of the pandemic, imagine what's going to happen, the students, when they are going to come back. This is all projection. Everyone is struggling to see when we receive our students face to face where they are. And I want to just mention that student, our staff, our principals, CS and dean, they work very hard to bring these students back to take the STAR test. Some students, they took the STAR test, but it was not as we normally have. So we already know the students, just looking at the score, the student, there is a big learning loss. So what we are going to do in the beginning of the year, when the students come back, we are going to give them the BOY so we can get the fresh data, fresh start, so then we can see how we are going to track our students. So I just want to come back to the learning loss plan. So the stakeholder input, Dr. Sevas, you are the one who ran this survey. You want to talk about that?
Good afternoon. Part of the ESSER grant is to make sure that we get stakeholder feedback or stakeholder input. So we did a two-prong approach. The first one was to submit and push out a stakeholder survey to our community through our campuses, through social media. We ran this survey and it was open for 3 weeks, and it was both in English and Spanish. We received an approximate number of 2,367 responses. 77.9 or 1843 were in English, and 21.1% or 524 were in Spanish. The breakdown, as you can see, I won't read all the numbers to you, but we did have a good correlation of parent and district employees, 15 community members, and we actually did have some student input, mostly at the secondary level, which was something that we did push forth with our high school principals. The grade span entries, they were a little higher at 2840, and that's due to our our families that have multiple students in our various levels. But you can tell that our majority of our input came from parents who had kids in the pre-K through 5th grade at 934.
Thank you, Dr. Sevas. So that was the stakeholder input.
That we also have the 5 priorities that came out of this survey, and this is an order of importance to our communities and parents and teachers. I'm not going to read them to you, but the first one definitely is something that we're going to hit hard, especially in our learning loss plan, is to provide instructional materials, resources, activities, and outreach to meet the needs of students. This is also to include facilitating smaller class sizes.
Absolutely. And then if you look at the 4th bullet, is talking about about the infrastructure, the connectivity of Wi-Fi, and you will see in our learning loss plan. So these are our 2 committee. We have elementary, and you see we have 6 parents, 8 teachers, 3 curriculum specialists, 3 principal, 8 directors, and 5 cabinet members. And the total was 33. And then we see on the secondary, now we have the secondary student, also the parents, teachers, dean, assistant principal, or principal, directors, and the cabinet members. So there are about like a 65, 63 members. They were part of developing this learning loss plan. So when we met both separately, because there's a large group, because of the virtual setting, we met in 4 times, but 2 times with the elementary folks and the 2 times for the secondary. What type of data we gave them? This is the data we gave them to look at that the data was available at that time. We gave them the board goal for reading and math and the CCMR, and then in-room assessment data, which was available, and then the ADA data, which is our daily attendance, and then the Google Classroom used how many students they were present and attending the Google Classroom sessions. This is a TEA template learning acceleration readiness checklist. That's how we came up with the priority. If you look at the very far, the blue one, its first tab is a supported teacher, how we are going to provide the support to the teacher. So the build teacher capacity. So there are 4 activities, which is the first is the implement key component of effective instruction in reading, language, art, and the implement key component of effective instruction in math, and deliver intervention and individual support, and add additional support staff. Out of 4, we pick 3, the committee and all the stakeholders, they pick these top priority. The top priority was implement key component of effective instruction in reading, language, art. The second top priority they pick was delivering intervention, which is a PD, and all. The third, all of these things. The third top priority was add additional support staff. So this is and then you are going to see in the learning loss plan down, I'm going to share. So these are the 3 things we considered with the 4 initiative. The second readiness tool from the template, from the TEA template, they were saying ensure that all students have the access to the high quality instructional material. Committee felt that we have the state-of-the-art curriculum and all the resources, so we do not need to engage in any initiative in regarding to the instructional material. The third TEA template tool was looking at the provide some, which was a create more time for learning. So among all these activities, we pick the top priority, which is a provide high dosage tutorial, the tutoring, which is called high impact tutorial that we need to provide. And then you will see this top priority came from the conversation. The last but not least from the template was the engaging families. So the engaging family was coming from more from high school, the secondary people, they want engage families. And then the elementary, they wanted to provide wraparound services. So what So the both priority, one priority came from the elementary, one priority came from secondary. So we picked both priority to make the part of our learning loss plan. So this is how we pick the top priority. So that's where the identify needs. I just shared with you the TA template, how we came up with this top priority. The first was teacher support. We picked 3 activities. And then the second was creating more time for learning. We picked Highdose tutorial, which is a high impact tutorial. The third was empower parents, engaging families and wraparound services for the elementary students. So that's how we picked the three area and the priority based on the surveys, based on the conversation, based on the data we shared. Now we go to the first one, which is teacher support. And you guys have a detailed learning loss plan, which is a working copy. So the first teacher support, we have in the first one, we are going to have a 4 initiative. We are bringing the Amira program, which is artificial intelligence, where we do need our students to provide them one-on-one reading assistance, and that's what Amira program is going to do. The Amira is the name of the artificial intelligence lady who is guiding the students during their reading assistance. Writable, this is a writing we want writing across the board. As you know, House Bill 3906, right now, before the writing was test only 4th and 7th grade. Because of the House Bill 3906, the writing is combined. So the writing is combined from 3rd to English 2. So all the writing, the pieces, they were separate before, now they will be included in their assessment. So they will be the student will be tested in writing in 3rd grade, 4th grade, and so on and so forth. So therefore, this is very, very important that we bring this writable across the content so that students can start practicing using the online platform. Amplify reading program, this will be added for our middle school, and Imagine Math Fact, which is not available because the learning loss in the math happened the most. So we are bringing the math facts. So that's a teacher support, the first, in order to get these things going, this is the platform we are going to provide the professional development, deliver intervention, and individualized support to just-in-time intervention, differentiated instruction, scaffolding, and small group one-on-one intervention. So these are our PD that we are going to provide the services to our teacher. So there are about 11 initiatives that we are going to use. For example, Go Guardian. This is a tool that the teacher can use as they are teaching and they are doing a station rotation in blended learning. So they can use Go Guardian to see what students doing what time at quizzes, to engage them more and then check for understanding very quickly. So I can go in detail each initiative, but it is in the learning loss plan. But if you have a question, I'm available to answer any of the question. So this is a 1C, which is we are adding the instructional support staff, add paraprofessional to 1st and 2nd grade classroom. We already have a pre-K and kindergarten, but we would like to, the committee decided that we need to have the classroom there because students, they are coming back learning loss in both reading and math, and then we need to provide them more assistance so we can have we can reach every student. So this is the second is the professional development for teachers, paraprofessionals, technicians for blended learning support. The second big thing was create more time for learning, which is a Highdose tutorial. So we are going to, this is a House Bill 4545. In the next board meeting, I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you more in-depth information about what is a high impact tutorial or Highdose tutorial. So the third is empower families, engage families. Initiatives are parent technology training, transition bridge meetings for the parents recruiters, that we can reach more parents, provide wraparound services. Those are the initiative, which is a social emotional training for teachers, LPCs, parents SEL training, and then also community and school CIS that will be utilized to provide these services. This is the cost that we estimated that are not the exact number. They are just the build the first one, build teacher capacity. We are looking at about 1.1 million, and add additional support staff, which is a first grade and second grade teacher assistants. We are talking about 9.3 million, and then create more time for learning, which is a high impact tutorial or a high dosage tutorial. We are estimating 11.1 million, and then the empower parents and engage them wraparound. So we are forecasting 3.5 million. So this is the area where you see like the money will be spent. And there are other costs there are also added there. So total will be 28.3 million, which will be 37.4 million dollars.
I think there was a question.
Mr. Rana, these amounts that you're quoting, that you're indicating here, is that for the 3 years or is it per year?
For 3 years.
Okay.
For 3 years. Very good question. So every cost, we look at the first year, second year, third year, and that's a cost we from the total budget, 37.48% will be spent for 3 years for these initiatives.
Mr. Wanda, the total for the 3 years, the expected federal funding is almost 76 million.
The expectations are from the ESSER grant 75.6 million.
Thank you.
And I'm willing to take any question. At the same time, I can share my actual plan, because this was just the presentation, but
I think the actual document was part of the packet, Mr. Rana.
yes, I just want to open because that has more information than just the presentation.
Mr. Rana,
Yes, sir.
I know that you were reading about learning loss plan.
Yes,
You
sir.
kept referring to the TA template.
Yes, sir.
Did the TA template specifically say reading and math only?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it didn't address science and social studies?
They did not address, but we are going to address through our tutorial, HB 4545, we are going to address social study and science through our tutorial. The high dosage tutorial, high impact tutorial.
Okay, and more importantly, and again, I'm not familiar with this template you're talking about and so forth, but I didn't hear you not once mention anything about our special pops.
Yes.
The bilingual and the special ed.
Yes, sir. They are
To
the part
say,
of,
to say the least. So
they are the part of the plan, sir. Yes, sir. If
you didn't mention them at all specifically. So, and again, I don't want to spend much time on this, but I just want to make note.
Yes, sir.
Because all this, you talk about something that obviously it's not just impacting us, the entire nation, when it comes to the learning loss. But it's really important to be certain that we connect as much as we can to our bilingual population at the elementaries and obviously ESO secondary, because everything you just mentioned a while ago, it has to be very critical to our kids at that level, specific for that. I mean, our population is obviously at the elementaries, they're averaging anywhere from 82 to 97 at times % LEP. Okay, so it's really important that you really have zoomed in the plan of action for the campus, for the grade level, for the teacher, for the student, him or herself, those 22 to 1, whatever the case may be. And yes, your plan looks pretty in here, but we've got to make sure that it gets taken care of in the classroom. So, I mean, I really don't have any questions for you other than everything you're mentioning is something that I'm really hoping that the teachers in the classroom, because they are the ones that are the boots in the ground. Yes. They're the ones that are going to be dealing with the face-to-face on these kids. And there's a lot of money here, lots of money involved in this. And we have to really be certain that we cannot take any shortcuts when it comes to the special pops, bilingual, ESL, because like I've always told you, if a kid can't read or write, then math, science, social studies is not going to get us anywhere. He or she's got to be able to read and write. And if Spanish is the first language, then we've got to really keep pushing them on that.
Mr. Castillo, if I may, sir, on the ESSER grant application, it is very specific and we will be addressing all special populations in the application as well as in the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's got a loss and so forth, but you know, I didn't hear you mention not once bilingual or ESL or special ed populations. That's it. Thank you.
And Mr. Rana, I guess my only questions too, or I think I shared that handout with you yesterday. My focus is gonna be the plan. How is the plan gonna be implemented? I want the specificity of how that's gonna be implemented at every campus and at the district level. And then the monitoring of that implementation. I wanna see what it's gonna look like at the campus and how it's gonna look at from central office. And then the professional development, what type of the trainings, like the calendar that's going to be provided. And it's also based on best practices. We need to make sure that we teach our teachers exactly how this is supposed to look in the classroom, but that we provide them and give them the training. But not only the teachers, that we're also training the principals on how to observe, monitor, and assess these practices in the classroom. So that they're able to go back in and provide feedback, coaching, and professional development to teachers based on the evaluations, walkthroughs, and data points that they will be reviewing. And I'd like to see all of that, the implementation, teachers, I'd like to see that as part of the school board monthly reports progress. I want to see how that is progressing. Because if that gets in place, that's going to touch all your populations and all your students.
Absolutely.
So that's it. I don't have any questions.
Yes, I just want to, Dr. Valdez, I want to just appreciate the feedback was really great. And then you see there will be updated include SMART goal, implementation and monitoring component. We are going to add in each initiative, what are the SMART goals and how we are going to implement, which is a timeline, and how we are going to track or monitor the progress. So if you look at we want to provide this is the Amplify M-Class data review for the leaders. So we are going to provide the training for the all elementary principal curriculum specialists. We want to see they know how to read the data review, and the same training will be provided to the teacher. So we want to make sure that they know how to read the reports, and then differentiate instruction. When they differentiate instruction, it will be based on students' need. It will be individualized students' IEP type of thinking, so that we are going to monitor.
That's correct.
Definitely.
And the most important thing, Mr. Donna, remember, I keep repeating it, the implementation and who's gonna make sure that it's implemented and how is it gonna be monitored that it's being implemented. To me, I'm gonna lean more on that.
Yes.
The plan itself. I want to know how it got implemented at the district level, at the campus level, and how is it being monitored at the campuses, and then how is it being monitored by central office? That's going to be my focus, because if we can do implementation and monitoring, that's going to definitely close up or decrease a lot of the gaps that we're currently going to experience. So that's very crucial.
If I can chime in relation to Mr. Rana's presentation, and thank you, Mr. Rana, for providing that information, and thank you to the board members. Your input is very well received. I've taken good notes here. We're going to convene as a leadership team and make sure that these items are highlighted. But one thing I want to say is that I've talked to you guys in the past about the teacher incentive allotment and how the district we're in the process of trying to go district-wide, every single one of our campuses. How this works with the learning loss plan is that under the teacher incentive allotment, there's a very, very strong focus on observations in classrooms, administrators being in classrooms and performing observations of instruction. And so I think inherently, because of the teacher incentive allotment and its focus on observations and consistency across the observers and appraisers, we're going to see that monitoring really strengthen because of that. Another key component is that the teacher incentive allotment focuses on student learning objectives with a really, really tight focus on teachers looking at student learning and making sure that students meet goals instructionally. So I think it's going to all work well together to make sure there's a successful effort. Mr. Rana, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight?
Well, I just want to say thank you very much, your board members, your input and your guidance is always appreciated, and we take it very serious. And I'm going to assure you that the three things Dr. Valdez and Mr. Castillo you mentioned, they will be top priority. And I know that our special population is very dear, especially bilingual education students and our special education students, they experience the most decline because they are the student, they need more hands-on and face-to-face instruction. They are the one who suffered the most. So they have the more gap than the all population. Definitely, they are our top priority, and we are going to create SMART goal implementation timeline, and then monitor piece, and then who will be responsible for monitoring that initiative, and so on and so forth.
Mr. Rana, just a couple of questions. So when is the submission deadline for this learning loss plan?
Learning loss plan, the ESSER application is, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Rebecca Castro, is July 27th.
The application, yes.
Yes, and then they say that according to them, that once you send the application, they are going to award you the NOGA. One within NOGA was awarded. So you have a 1 month, 30 days to give them this learning loss plan. But we are ahead of their thinking. We already have the learning loss plan ready to go with the ESSER application, and also our learn and lead safely plan, because that's there they want to see when we are receiving our students back, like return back to school, and what's our plan. And then we all, both document will be linked when we submit the application.
And in addition to that, we're making sure that any revisions we make with regard to our planning ESSER application and our learning loss plan, all of it is communicated to our business office, and that it informs our budgeting process for the 21-22 school year.
Yes.
So Dr. Valdez, this is all we have to present. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sorolla, and thank you, Mr. Rana. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one last. I'm just curious because I noticed you mentioned down there, and that was with the Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi accessibility in the classroom. Are we having issues with that again, or what? Why was it listed as a priority in the top 5?
The very good question, sir. I loved it.
Or do we have a problem or what?
No. I'm going to, because we are going to go, as we have a one-on-one device, and we are going to blended learning mode of instruction. So when we come back, our students come back, we are going to use the electronic devices, your Chromebooks and their iPad. And because in the classroom, there is a Wi-Fi, the 1 gigabyte, the Wi-Fi, which is called like the routers. And then we want to make sure that the routers can really send the waves or magnet waves to each device, and there is no block, there is no gaps. So we want to make sure our system is upgraded as we instruct our students. And we
okay, but let me ask you this. And I know you're explaining that, but obviously we should have been working on this since the spring, knowing that the forecast, we were going to bring our kids back in. So school's right around the corner. Yes. And again, we don't want to get into these little dilemmas, Mr. Rana, because everybody knows about this. And I was curious why it made the top 5 priority when that really is an that's administratively, that should have been addressed from way back when. That really has nothing to do with the parents or anything, because now they're going to be in our house, yes, in our classrooms, in our buildings, in our campuses. We got to make sure that's taken care of, because absolutely. Whatever it is, it should be fixed already.
We already started with the Dana North High School. We have a pilot, so with the 5 gigabytes. So we wanted to test first how it goes. And because of the pandemic, we could not test really get the good data back, but we already have the codes and everything Mr. Chavez has done. So it's like in the process. So as soon as you approve, so we know that you guys are giving us green light, and then we begin the work. But background work was already happening.
Dr. Sorolla, it's just a brief question. So I'm basing it on the budget and based on his plan that there's going to be 124 paraprofessionals hired based on the budget to put in first grade. Mr. Rana, you said, correct?
First grade and second grade.
First and second.
And the good thing is we do have some surplus in that area, so we're in a good position to address those needs through the surplus. Okay, thank you.
Are we talking about all first and second classrooms?
Yes, sir.
That is the recommendation, yes, sir.
What's the total number there? That seems to me
Mr. Ronald, what was that total that you guys came up with? Because that was,
I believe, I don't have on top of my head, it was in 80 some teacher aid, if I'm not mistaken. So it
Over
was
80?
in 80s.
yes. Yeah. Like I said, we should be,
I thought there was gonna be more, but that's fine.
like I said, we should be in good shape because of the
Mariposa.
Mariposa. Yes, sir. We have about half them already.
All right. Anything else, Dr. Soto? I think that was it.
That's all. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, everybody. That'll conclude our workshop for today. Everyone have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.